I've got breaking news involving the Kansas City Chiefs defensive line, plus everything you need to know from the Kansas City Chiefs training camp practice on Friday up at St. Joe on today's KCS and Update presented by DraftKings.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome into today's KCS and Update presented by DraftKings. I'm your host, Tucker Franklin. As always, very excited to be with you to get you caught up on everything you need to know about your Kansas City Chiefs. First, we have to start with the breaking news as Ian Rappaport tweeted out earlier today that Charles Omenihu of the Kansas City Chiefs is suspended for his team's first 6 regular season games of the 2023 season for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy. He is eligible to participate in all preseason practices and games. Now, this stems from an arrest in January that Charles Omenihu had in San Jose when he was a member of the San Francisco 49ers. This dates all the way back with a domestic violence arrest, a misdemeanor domestic violence complaint arrest for Charles Omenihu. He will not be allowed back into the building until the Week 7 game that the Chiefs have against the Los Angeles Chargers. So he will miss these games that you see here on his screen. He will not be eligible to play in any of those games for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, it's very unfortunate that Charles Omenihu will not be with the Chiefs, because when you start to look at the Kansas City Chiefs defensive end room, it starts to get a little thin when you look at guys like George Karlaftis, Mike Dana, Felix Enudike-Uzomah, Malik Herring, BJ Thompson, and Joshua Kando are all currently on the roster right now. Now, that is before the roster cuts that are going to come down on August 29th. So something to watch for. Could the Chiefs add a Carlos Dunlap end potential, or Carlos Dunlap type guy, I should say, to the defensive end room to kind of have a little extra wiggle room there with Charles Omenihu? We'll have to see. But Charles Omenihu is eligible to remain practicing. He is eligible to play in all of the preseason games and all of the practices, so he will still get that time in. But again, this stems back from a January arrest when he was a member of the San Francisco 49ers in San Jose on an allegation of misdemeanor domestic violence back in January. So Charles Omenihu will serve a 6-game suspension at the beginning of the 2023 season for violating that NFL personal conduct policy. Very interesting situation developing. We knew that when the Chiefs signed Charles Omenihu that this could be an issue when it came to what his suspension was going to be, because we did already know at the time of the signing for Charles Omenihu that a suspension would be looming. NFL brings it down today, 6 games for Charles Omenihu. And as I mentioned, looking at the defensive line room, they might need some help. So could the Chiefs add a Carlos Dunlap type or another veteran defensive end that's still out there on the market? It is still yet to be seen. Let me know what you think about the suspension and the comments section down below. Let me know if you think the Chiefs will add somebody for that defensive line room, or defensive end room rather, especially without Chris Jones in training camp now. The defensive line is looking a little iffy when you start to look at some of the guys that we were kind of anticipating being in on that defense, now no longer there. Not good to see there. But let's go ahead and get to Friday's practice from St. Joe. We'll go ahead and start with the injury report. Jody Fordson, L'Jarius Sneed, Kadarius Toney, Reese Taylor, Charles Omenihu, Mike Dana, and Jalen Watson all did not practice on Friday. That's 7 players not practicing for the Kansas City Chiefs. Jody Fordson still dealing with that shoulder issue. L'Jarius Sneed has been having a little bit of a sore knee, I believe it was first reported, kind of lingering around a little bit for him there. Kadarius Toney obviously dealing with the knee injury that he had that cleanup with, and you don't expect to see him really the rest of training camp. Reese Taylor is dealing with a hamstring issue, while Charles Omenihu and Mike Dana are both dealing with calf issues. Now, we do know that if you've been watching these videos, I let you know Mike Dana has dealt with calf issues in the past. He missed a couple games last season with a calf issue. Charles Omenihu, I believe, had a calf strain on a couple days ago. And Jalen Watson missed practice for personal reasons as well. Some good news on the injury front, though. Drew Tranquill was back at practice. But when I was at practice on Friday, I noticed that during the team sessions, Jack Conkrum was getting a lot of run with the one. So they might just be working Drew back in slowly and not doing these full contact team sessions with him, which is absolutely fine. So that's something to monitor, something to keep an eye on, as Jack Conklin was taking a lot of snaps with the ones in base. I should mention on that defensive side of the ball. But Drew Tranquil back at practice. Those are all very good news, very good things to hear. But wish that injury report would get a little bit smaller as we get closer and closer to that first preseason game. I believe it's a week from Sunday. Kind of crazy to think about. That first training camp game is already here. Kind of nuts. Absolutely nuts. So let's go ahead and get into the highlights from Friday's practice. It was a rainy day in St. Joe. Practice was delayed. They started practice inside, then moved outside. So from what we could be able to see at practice, here are some highlights from that. Let's start with the one-on-ones, and let's get into this clip here from Felix Anudike-Uzomah and Donovan Smith. Actually, if you missed yesterday's KCSN update video, I sat down with Jeff Allen and Mike DeVito, and we broke down the one-on-one drill and kind of the mindset of the players having that. You can click that video up in the top right-hand corner there. If it's going to pop up for you, you can go see that if you haven't done it already, or pause this video, go watch it, and then come back because I got more highlights for you. But what you need to know is I don't think you should take a whole lot away from this one rep here, these two reps here from Donovan Smith and Felix Anudike-Uzomah. It looks like Felix does get the best of him on the first rep here, and Mike, I think Jeff Allen made actually a really good point of Donovan Smith is a little heavy-handed with his punch. He has a two-hand punch, kind of gets him out in front of his skis. You kind of see that in that first clip. Slips a little bit. It's a wet day, so he slips a little bit, doesn't keep his footing. Getting out in front of your skis is going to do that already. So Felix wins that first rep, but I think Donovan Smith does a really nice job of adjusting. You would want a little bit better hand placement on that. A little inside a little bit better on Felix, but he really anchors down on that bull rush there from Felix and is able to kind of stop him in his tracks, and a couple guys showing respect after the play is done. Love to see that. A couple guys going at it and then showing some respect. So love what I saw there from that rep. And now let's go into some 7-on-7. This is Richie James making a bobbling catch in traffic. A very interesting play here. Looked like those two guys might have ran into each other if they weren't too careful. But again, this is training camp. That's where you get that timing down. Richie James, the concentration to maintain that catch, to bobble it and maintain the concentration, come down with it, especially on a day that it was a little wet, a little worse for wear for these for the offense. Really, when you start to look at what happened during, there was a lot of misconnections and miscommunications with the offense going on today. So very interesting to see them there. I don't know if the weather played a factor into it. If I had to guess, the weather was playing a little bit of a factor into it. And let's stay with the offense here as Pacheco and Prince got a couple of plays back to back here. First, we're going to start with Isaiah Pacheco's catch out of the backfield, and Deneric Prince also going to have a catch out of the backfield as well. Listen, I think that these two guys could be used very similarly. They were comps kind of to each other by Eric Galco, director of the East-West Shrine Bowl. Both of those guys went to the East-West Shrine Bowl. We talked to both of those guys. So if you want to hear an interview with Isaiah Pacheco, we've got that on our channel. But we were able to talk to Deneric Prince as well. He's had a really good camp. He's running a lot with the ones, especially with Isaiah Pacheco. Still having that non-contact jersey on. It's going to be very interesting to see how he gets integrated. As I reported on one of these videos that Isaiah Pacheco might not be clear until August 20th for full contact. So Deneric Prince getting a lot of those reps and looking like he's going to make an impact in that passing game as well. Now let's get to a tale as old as time, really, a tradition I never get tired of. It's Patrick Mahomes finding Travis Kelce in the end zone for 6. A really good play off of some play action here. Finds Travis Kelce, and he kind of just sneaks into the end zone here. We haven't seen a lot of under center play action from the Chiefs that I can recall off the top of my head. I'm sure you guys will let me know in the comment section if I'm wrong. But I think that it could be something very interesting. The Chiefs don't run a whole lot of play action, but a very effective play there as Mahomes does find Kelce for a touchdown. And let's get to running the football. Another Deneric Prince clip here. Offensive line, I do think, had a good day. Another clip that I had, but we didn't end up tweeting it out at KC Sports Network. The offensive line really moving some bodies and getting a gap for Deneric Prince. He was met at the second level, or the third level, I believe, by one of the safeties. But on this clip here, he's untouched. Deneric Prince goes untouched in the end zone for 6. Now, I know a lot of these guys are staying up on their feet, but I don't know if anyone would have actually tackled him. I don't think that he would have actually gotten tackled. I think this is a really good job by the offensive line. A really good job for Prince to show off kind of some of the skill set that he has here. Was a really big fan of this play. Now let's go ahead and end on the defensive side of the ball. This is a pass breakup from Nick Jones, the rookie that the Chiefs selected in this year's draft. Good pass breakup. A little bit, those guys get tangled. They fall on each other. MVS did leave. He was kind of holding his shoulder after that play, but I think everything ended up okay. He was back in the practice and back in the drills in a couple plays. So just kind of banged up a little bit. They did kind of land on each other, kind of awkward looking play, but a good pass breakup there from Nick Jones. Encouraging to see from the rookie. And look, the rookie's got a lot of snaps on Friday because with Jalen Watson out and some of these injuries that they've had in the defensive backfield and some things that they've had to move around, the rookies, and they're getting to really test the versatility. Najee Johnson being out as well. They have to really test these younger guys that they brought in the defensive back room to see where they can all fit and where they can all go. All right, lastly here, I've got a clip from one of our podcasts, Beyond the Game, one of my favorite podcasts we have on KC Sports Network. Former Kansas City Chiefs long snapper sits down with Pro Football Hall of Famer Morton Anderson, legendary kicker and a legendary guy in his own right. He sits down with him to talk about they go beyond the game. They talk about their life after football and what it's like kind of adjusting after being in the NFL for so long. And Morton has some really good stuff about the adjustment that it took for him playing for so long in the NFL to all of a sudden not having that anymore. A really good clip here from that podcast. And you can catch that podcast tomorrow morning. That'll come out actually tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. That podcast will come out on wherever you listen to your podcast on KCS and audio platforms. But first, here's a little bit of a teaser. Here's a little taste of Kendall Gaiman's conversation with Pro Football Hall of Famer Morton Anderson.
We've talked a lot about on-field or kind of during your career. Take our audience into your life after football, what you've done. I know you've been involved with a lot of things in your native country. From bringing over golf trips to doing things for the Super Bowl. Just expand on that a little bit, if you would.
Sure. I think it's important to mention the first 18 months out of football sucked. It was terrible. I did not handle it well. I actually got a little bit of help, some therapy.
Yeah.
My wife gave me an ultimatum and said, if you don't change, I'm out of here. So, there were some things there that that didn't align with where I was going. And it was, as I was told and as I learned and as I agreed with, a death. A part of you dies when you retire, and that structure that you have in football is just ripped away. And now what do you replace it with? And I thought, I played for so long, Kendall. I played for 25 years.
Yeah.
That I thought I'm not going to have that problem because I'll be so saturated. I'll be so full of football that I'm not going to miss it. And that was a bunch of BS for sure.
Right.
I missed it terribly. I remember waking up Sunday mornings in a full sweat. I'm late to the game. And my wife would be like, just roll over. It's Sunday, you're retired. And that realization hit home. And, and there was some bad habits there for 18 months. And then I straightened it out. I started a company, Morton Anderson Global, started a nonprofit, Morton Anderson Family Foundation. And we've been doing that since 2008. We do, on the for-profit side, we do a lot. I sell me. I'm it. But
absolutely.
But we do golf. Thank you. We're doing high-end golf events. We're doing, doing a lot of appearances, public speaking. I had a podcast, Great Day Nation, for 90 months. So there was a lot of things. The Hall of Fame keeps us busy. And so there are a lot of things there that, brand ambassador for different companies. And as you mentioned, I am Danish, so there are a lot of companies in Denmark that are interested in doing business and coming to the US. So that's very attractive to them and to me to forge partnerships. On the nonprofit side, we're preparing for our 10th and final special teams for special ops. We raise money for our special ops community and the families through another organization called Operation One Voice. And we raised over almost $2.5 million in 10 years. We're very proud of that. And the foundation will continue. We support over 100 charities, quality of life programs for youth, quality of life programs for servicemen and women and their families. Those are our two main focus areas. And so we've been Yeah, mortonanderson.com. Everybody can go there. Special teams for specialops.com is another website. And so there's lots to delve into and lots of work ahead. But I am enjoying it, Kendall. I have to say, it's the quality of the relationships you have throughout the years. They continue,
Right.
and I have a lot of, I've been able to network into the business world and into some high-end folks mentoring me and helping me along the way, helping us along the way. So it's very similar to what you're doing, Kendall. And
Right.
you just can't sit on your hands. You have to go out and get busy, get active. I could stand to lose a few pounds, but I've been fighting that all my life. So nothing new there. It's hard when you like good food and good wine. I mean, it's tough.
Once again, you can find that podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. That'll be out on Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m. Wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find Beyond the Game. Search for the KC Sports Network or KCSN, and you'll be able to find that podcast right wherever you listen to podcasts. A really great conversation, especially with the Hall of Fame induction coming up this weekend. I think it's a really good tone to start off with the football season, a good conversation between two good friends as well. You can tell that those guys go way back in some of the great stories that they do share. So that's going to do it for today's episode of KCS Update. Really appreciate you guys sticking all the way to the end of the video. And if you did, drop a lock in that comment section so I know that you guys watched all the way till the end of this video. Make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button to become a first teamer. I'll be doing these videos, keeping you up to date on everything that's going on with your Kansas City Chiefs. So do not miss out the next time we post a video. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. So until then, I will talk to you guys later.